Can you hear the buzz?
Could not hear the buzz. Oh, I can hear the purring. Hi, fam. Welcome to Madoka Magicast, the podcast devoted to the dark magical girl franchise PMMM Madoka Magica. My name is Amanda, and I am joined by my co-hosts Yasha and Vana, who are the owners of the biggest revolutionary girl website, Empty Movement. Hi, Yasha and Vana.
Hi. Hello.
This is the podcast where we sit down and we talk about Madoka Magica and all of its spin-off media, and its movies, and its manga and such, and we talk about all the things that we like and don't like about it. Today we are talking about the Different Story manga. Hooray!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, aren't we doing this because we reached a Patreon goal?
That's right.
Yes, this was the $80 Patreon goal. So it'll stay the $80 Patreon goal as we continue to cover it. And I guess when it's done, we'll have a different one just to encourage everybody to keep it at 80. And you know, if anybody has any suggestions for what the $80 goal can be after we're done with Different Story manga, you know, send them in. If you'd like us to cover a different part of the manga or a different piece of Madoka Magica media, we have had requests for the concept trailer a lot lately. So maybe that can be the next $80 goal or another goal above that if anybody is really interested in doing another goal above that. Yeah, I don't know. Let us know if you have any strong thoughts about it.
And thanks to all of our patrons who donated to get us to this goal.
Yeah, we have a couple new patrons to thank too, also.
Oh,
and I do owe some people pins. It's taken me long due to COVID quarantine stuff, and the post office I normally go to is one of those contract facilities. It's not a real post office. It's like one of those privately owned, like, little stationery stores that also accepts packages. And they've been periodically closed and open and closed. So if you are waiting on Patreon rewards, the pins and stuff, I am very sorry if you've been waiting a long time. It's just a matter of me being able to get out and them being open at the same time. So maybe this week will be our week.
2020 just ain't right, so.
Yeah. 2020. Anyway, how are you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
We're pretty good.
Cool.
I can't complain. I'm not at work, so I'll take that as a net win.
Yeah, we had a pretty good weekend, I think.
It's getting warm.
We deep cleaned our bathrooms yesterday.
Nice.
I know. It's always that really good feeling, like, when you actually, like, manage to actually really super clean, like, some part of your house that's needed cleaning for, like, a really long time.
Yeah.
You've been putting it off, and then it's done, and you're like, wow, it's really nice when things are clean. I should do this shit more often.
Yeah.
Or at least that's just me. Hopefully.
No, that's definitely... I love having... I don't like the process of cleaning. Like, I hate the cleaning part, but the having everything nice and orderly and is such a good feeling. I love it.
It is. I mean, for me, it comes down to not really having time to do that kind of cleaning, usually.
Yeah.
So, like...
Same.
That's the problem, usually, with it. Is that usually if I clean, I'm having to put off something else. But yesterday, me and my husband, like, we split the work. Like, it was like, okay, while I scrub this shower, you clean that sink. And then, so it was like, while I'm in this bathroom, you go over to the other bathroom and do that, and we'll switch places when we're done. So we were kind of, like, splitting the labor, and we got it all done in, like, an hour and a half, so it felt really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then today we just kind of sat around the house with Luna.
Yeah, well, because you earned it.
Yeah. She's sitting next to me right now, and she's begging me to give her some of the prosciutto I'm eating for dinner.
Oh, baby.
Dangerous.
It was on sale at the store, so I bought 2 of them.
Yes.
And I'm drinking seltzer, so I'm continuing my tradition of being buzzed while recording this podcast.
Good
I've
job.
actually got a beer with me.
There you go.
I'm still on my coffee, so
Okay.
Well, we
You can
haven't
throw
done
some
anything.
Baileys in there.
yeah, right. This might be the first time I'm sober in any respect in like a week.
Yeah. Well, we haven't done anything much this weekend because Vana was working until today. But
Right.
today we have plans to watch Midsummer with friends.
Oh,
Have
good.
you seen it?
Nice perky.
I have not seen
fun
that.
movie.
It is very Utena-ish, so much that Ikuhara was tweeting about it a lot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Tax
So
balls.
you guys will love it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we've seen it already. It's really good.
Okay.
It is really good.
We're at the show everyone we know stage of Midsummer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So
So
I
you're
think this is,
saying,
like,
you're
the
telling me
third.
that I need to see it, is what you're trying to say.
Actually, yeah.
Okay.
It is actually really good.
I think you would like
It's
it.
interesting.
It's definitely a different take. The way I've been describing it to people is it's a horror story for most of the characters, but for one character, it's a fairy tale.
That sounds wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. That is exactly like the kind of shit that we love.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, you should watch it.
Cool. My husband and I have been trying to watch Knives Out for like 2 months.
Oh, yeah?
Because because I heard it was great and I love Ryan Johnson and it was on sale. I went out like right before the quarantine happened. I got it on sale at Target and
Oh my God.
it's been sitting on our coffee table and we just haven't watched it yet. So we keep saying, "Oh, next weekend. Oh, this Friday.
Next week.
This Thursday, this Friday." And it just hasn't happened and it still didn't happen this weekend.
Aw.
So
But you got the bathrooms clean though.
we did get the bathrooms cleaned. Yeah. So, was it watch Knives Out yesterday morning or was it clean the bathrooms? So,
Yeah.
the
you
bathrooms
made a
got
choice.
done. Yeah.
Okay. You know what? This boy is not shutting
He's
up.
being a bad
He's
boy.
being a bad
Oh,
boy.
bye,
He's gonna-
Sam.
he's
Sam, you're
be
gonna have to go
sequestered.
hide for a bit. You're being naughty.
Yep.
That way, yeah, because then he'll have a friend. Oh, Tweet's gonna love that. She's like hiding in the scoop, and it is a good time to be a cat or a dog right now.
Oh my
Like,
God, Luna is so happy that we're home 24 hours a
Right?
day.
I bet, and two of my coworkers, that don't have kids or whatever, and are locked up in their houses now, have gotten cats. Like,
Oh.
my work buddy Angela got this like little kitten from like a family that really couldn't afford the kitten anymore. Once everyone got fired,
Yeah.
so she's got this like teeny little kitten, and now it's just ridiculous. Like when there's like 3 or 4 of us going off on our cat mom nonsense in the break room. It's everyone else just looks at us like, "Oh God, you're all embarrassing," and we're like, "Look at our pictures of our cats and here's what she's sleeping, and here's what look at her
That's
belly."
so cute.
Yeah, just like us with Luna and our cats. It's like, no, we're cat moms, we're dog moms.
I am
just like,
literally
I need to do this about
right
my own
now.
children.
Right now, as I am speaking, I have a shirt on that says Dog Mom.
Nice,
Like in like
Absolutely
collegiate like typeset.
excellent.
Yes. Anyway, let us get started here.
Anyway,
Yeah.
now that Sam is grounded.
Sequestered.
Yeah.
So today
So
we are talking about Madoka Magica, the different story. Very important that in the different story, only the T in the is capitalized.
Yes, which drove me nuts the second I saw
Don't
it.
understand that.
Can't handle it, but we'll live with
Might
it.
as just leave them all uncapitalized or capitalized all
Them
of the
all.
words. That's very strange. Anyway, volume 1, the art in all of the manga, I think, all of the kind of quote-unquote main manga, like the Rebellion manga, the manga based off the original anime, in most of the early manga, like the different story manga, were all drawn by Hanokage. I mean, that's the artist's name. Obviously, that's a pen name.
Yeah.
And then the front cover says original story by Magic Quartet. So the group of 4 creatives that got together and created the anime. But according to the Madoka Wiki, it says the script itself was written by Masaki Hiramatsu, who is an author who also worked on one of the other manga spin-offs called Kazumi Magica. So even though, the original story was done by Magic Quartet, which I think is because it's based originally on one of the drama CDs, the actual
I think it's
script,
drama CD 3 or...
yeah, The actual
Yep.
script is written by by Masaki Hiramatsu. So, original story, quote, quote, by Magica Quartet, in the same way that the original story of the manga based on the anime is by Magica Quartet.
Few fingers in that pie.
Mm-hmm.
This manga takes place in an alternate timeline to the original series, but it covers some events that happened before the original series that I think are applicable, like our canon background to the original series, if you know what I mean. Like, so there are events in this first volume that we're going to talk about today that can be considered like backstory to some of the characters in the anime, and then some of the stuff in the later volumes is what would be considered the alternate timeline stuff.
Yep.
The first volume contains 4 chapters. They are not, none of the chapters are named. It's just number 1, 2, 3, 4. So today I think we're just going to be talking about the first half of this, because I got to the halfway point and I was like, I think that's going to be enough to talk about in one episode.
We're trying to pare it down and not be like, here's a 2-hour.
Yeah. Because I think there's quite a lot to say in this.
Well, there's also just kind of the setup of like how it's framed and like talking about, you know, the art and stuff like that.
Yeah, this is our first manga episode, so like I figured we were gonna have
done a
plenty to
manga
talk
episode at
about
all.
just from that.
Yeah. So that should be fun.
There's some significant, you know, the medium is the message, so there's some
Very
pretty
much so.
significant differences in Madoka just from the switch to comic book format, you know? So we will have plenty to talk about, and I didn't want to, you know, lose out on any of that kind of discussion, so we're just going to be talking about the first half of Volume 1 today.
Which is a good, like, place to stop, too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
What did you guys have any, like, first impression thoughts on just the very beginning of this manga here?
I actually kind of liked it it's very uwu earlier on.
Yes.
Some of the things it changes, like, or some of the things it expands on, I really like. We actually discussed this in the last episode as well, but it expands on how the wishes that they make inform the powers that they have and things like that, and that there's consequences of that as well, instead of it just being like a set thing that, you know, exists and then doesn't change. I quite liked that. The art it was a little hard for me to follow. I had to kind of like re-look at it a few times, like the action scenes. But to be honest, I suspect that's more just because I'm not used to reading manga, so I'm not used to the, you know, like visual landscape. So sometimes it was hard for me to follow the action. I don't know if it's because, like I said, it's just not a visual landscape that I see a lot more, or if it's that this artist is very action-y with lots of line.
Yeah, I found the art a bit crowded.
Sometimes it felt a bit cluttered. Yeah.
Yeah, I've personally never been a big fan of any kind of action comics.
Yeah.
Like the artwork has to really be something like special. There's a manga called Dogs, Bullets, and Carnage, if you guys have ever heard of this manga. The story is garbage, but this is maybe one of the only manga I have ever read that has legitimately good action in it. And it's solely because the artwork is so incredible.
Cool.
And it's hard to describe in words why it works as an action manga, because it's got a very pop art kind of, like the page layout and the style of the artwork is just very I don't know, it's just very cool, and it just works as action. And, you know, Hanokage is a very competent manga artist, but
oh yeah, it's very good. It's just...
But they are not Shiro Masamune, I think is his name. Is that his name? Shiro Miwa. Not Shiro Masamune. Who is Shiro Masamune? Now I need to know who that is.
Sephiroth's sword.
Oh, Shiro Masamune is the guy who did Ghost in the Shell. Never mind. Never mind. Yeah. Right. Shiro Miwa. Shiro Miwa is the person who did Dogs, Bullets, and Carnage. Yeah.
Cool.
Hanokage is no Shiro Miwa. No.
But very competent. And I think that's almost like, it almost feels like that's why maybe this artist was used, was there isn't just, like, this artist doesn't have a super distinctive style. Like, they basically kind of adapt the aesthetic of the series for the most part, like in the manga artwork. I don't know what else they've done or what it looks like, but it's just very competent, but it's not very, like, I don't feel like visually it's adding much or changing much.
I wouldn't call it particularly distinct.
Yeah. It's the show artwork, but you know,
it's perfect. It's perfectly acceptable manga. Like, it looks good. The screen tones look good. The inks look good.
Yep.
It's exactly what I would expect from a manga. It's fine.
Yep.
It's even great, but there's really nothing about it that really stands out.
Yeah, it's not like a reinterpretation of the aesthetic or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be.
Nope.
Yeah, like that probably was something they didn't want to do.
No.
Was reinterpret or anything.
Yeah.
Because they're already reinterpreting the story.
Yep.
So
Right. It's
Gotta have some
already
familiarity.
new stuff with existing characters. So, you don't want it to be too widely different. I think they might be willing to do more of a departure in terms of artwork in the side story manga that are about completely different characters, which is then what we end up seeing,
Mhm.
So, yeah.
That makes sense.
As far as my opinion on this, I cannot see this as compatible with the series. To me, everything in this has to be AU. Because it just doesn't make sense for Mami to never ever mention that she knew Kyoko, and doesn't make sense for Kyoko to never ever acknowledge Mami.
Yeah.
Like,
well, hold on.
That's the big thing sticking in my head, and I'm like, about it.
Well, this might be a tangent, but I'll bring it up anyway. It is mentioned a couple times.
It's mentioned that they knew each other, but it's not mentioned, like, any kind of deep relationship, or there's no acknowledgement of any emotional weight to that.
Well, there's a part in the original anime when Sayaka and Kyoko are fighting, and Sayaka accuses Kyoko of being as cold and heartless and selfish about grief seeds as Homura, and she says, like, you're the kind of magical girl that made Mami die, and Kyoko gets very mad at her. And she was kind of playing it off until Sayaka was trying to make her angry, and she was blowing her off, and then when Sayaka started saying that, she got very mad. That's the episode where they're in, like, the alleyway. Yeah. So that episode actually does allude to them having a prior relationship.
It just doesn't expand on it.
It doesn't expand on it, and it doesn't give it any
real
emotional
probably because,
connection.
one, that wasn't fully fleshed out and written yet.
No.
And two, it doesn't have any time to do that.
No. And in that sense, I'm kind of glad they didn't do more, because, like, even if they had meant for this to be canon, and, like,
that would have cluttered
it would have just cluttered the frames. Like, I don't think they should have gotten into this. So in this sense, like, at least this first half, I'm totally down to read this first half as canon to the show.
I can,
but it's a bit of a stretch, but it deviates far enough, quickly enough, that it's definitely like an AU kind of thing,
absolutely.
So.
Like, it's
but
definitely
it's
something I
by
could
the
see
show.
happening, but it's just the emotional weight isn't there.
Oh god, I'm gonna do it. I gotta do it. Okay,
all right.
What?
This is the way I'm doing this, like, in my head, is the same way I'm doing the Utena series and the Utena musicals.
Oh, okay.
So with the musicals, they're a retelling of the show. They don't really change a whole lot, but you need to know the show pretty well to know what they're doing.
Right.
And I feel kind of like that with this manga that as far as I've read it so far, is it doesn't really stand on its own, because a lot of the context that it just takes for granted is from the series, like conventions about how the magical girls work, about the contract with Kyubey. So even if it is an AU, you still need the show to follow it, and I feel like the musicals are the same way. So it's kind of like it works in one direction, but not both.
Yeah.
So,
By the way,
that's
this is total aside, but the Black Rose musical is so good.
It is, isn't it?
Is.
It's so good.
I felt personally vindicated and validated, because way back when I was on Imagine Me and Utena for the Kozue episode, and I was standing hardcore for Kozue, the character that nobody likes and nobody thinks about very hard.
She's got her stands for sure.
Me and nobody else.
It's a mood, I understand.
I mean, me and nobody else. When I was standing as hard as I could for her in that episode, because everybody loves Miki and nobody likes Kozue. I was like, well, I was talking to Panda and Alice, and I was like, Okay, but I was like, you guys know that one part, right? Where that one part in the episode where like the teacher is like talking to Miki and he like creepily puts his arm around Miki and then Kozue gets really angry. Like you guys saw that, right? Like the teacher was hitting on Miki and Kozue got pissed. And they were like, the teacher was hitting on Miki? Really?
Oh my god.
They didn't realize that?
And then the musical goes hard on that.
Oh yeah, the musical went so hard.
I was like, yes, I knew it.
They didn't feel like they needed to go for subtlety with the musicals.
No.
And it just and for a character like Kozue, it just made it even better to stand her.
Yes.
My girl.
And she's like, I'm going to murder the shit out of somebody now.
Believe
You're like,
me,
yes,
you
queen.
are not alone.
Kozue is a
only
smart
Kozue
and
fan.
reasonable person who,
Yes, she is.
who wants to protect her stupid dumbass brother.
Yes,
she can't help but
exactly.
care about her stupid dumbass brother.
Damn right.
Mhm.
And the
Absolutely.
musical's like, I don't know, like, ever since the Black Rose musical came out, the ambient opinion of Kozue has increased, like,
Good.
dramatically.
Yeah.
So you
She's-
are not alone anymore. There are stands everywhere.
I always thought the negativity about Kozue was very much like slut shamey. And like
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
people
it
just
is.
didn't
It
like
totally is.
Kozue because she was slutty. And the show kind of framed her as being bad,
Yeah.
but like nothing she ever did was actually that bad.
Well, she did push somebody.
She
down
tried
the
to kill a
stairs.
rapist.
She
I
pushed
don't
somebody
see
down the
problem
stairs
here.
who was
I mean-
trying to molest her brother.
Yeah.
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 This seems reasonable.
Yeah. And
Sounds
I
like
mean-
a hero move to me. I don't know about you guys.
And notice
In
she
that-
doesn't get in trouble for it either, because
Yeah.
you know that whole like in both like the series and the musical, Jury is like, hey, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I hear a teacher almost got
Ganked.
the whack.
Yeah.
And it's clear that Jury knows what happened
Right.
here to some extent. Like she doesn't know why Kozue did it, but she knows Kozue did it. And I'm like, yeah, she's accepting that there's a reason for this, and Kozue gets away with it, clearly.
Yes.
Like she's not expelled. She's not. Nothing bad
But
happens.
taken on its own, pushing somebody down the stairs instead of like, calling the police. But they don't exist in
There are no
Otori,
police.
apparently. So
Yeah.
it's a lot more morally forgivable.
Yeah.
But it's still not good to do something.
I
like
mean,
that.
if
No, I
if
stand on.
Kozue tried to report that teacher to the higher ups at Otori, do you think anybody would have taken it seriously?
nope.
Of course
absolutely
not. Of course not. Yeah.
Sure,
so
they would have. That
you know,
was some
Akio wouldn't have done
graceless
shit
abuse.
about that.
Akio
would have shaken the guy's
got a
hand.
different opinion. Let's hear Vanna's opinion.
That was graceless abuse, just doing it all out in front where everybody could see it. Like, I have a feeling
Oh my
Akio
God.
expects much better from his molesty ass teachers.
Oh my
than
god,
that.
this is like me and Cuba with manipulation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah. Anyway, Stan
Okay.
Kozue. She
Anyway,
would be the
I'm
best
sorry.
magical
That was
girl, by
that
the
was
way.
our
She
little
was
that was our little cul-de-sac about
was our
Kozue
tangent.
and the Black Rose musical. Anyway, so before we dive into the different story manga, I did want to point out one thing.
Mhm.
This manga was translated by William Flanagan.
Okay.
I do not know who that is.
Let me tell you about Will Flanagan.
Let's hear about
Let's hear
William
it.
Flanagan.
William
Yeah,
Flanagan
sure.
also translated the manga for a little series you might be familiar with called Sailor Moon.
Ah.
This manga was retranslated in 2011 or so, and
Mhm.
this translation was real bad.
Oh.
Yeah, this was the 2011 translation for Sailor Moon. So let me take you back. Let me do a little history
Mhm.
lesson for Sailor Moon. So in the 90s we had Sailor Moon, but it was the localized Sailor Moon that was censored and all the names were changed.
Yeah.
And the manga came out, but it was released by Mix and Smile and Tokyo Pop and all of those really bad
Yeah.
old
I remember.
manga companies.
I
yeah.
read some of the manga back then.
So for years, that was the only legal version of the manga that existed in
Mhm.
English. And then in I'm have my copy out right now to look at what year it was retranslated. 2011, I was right. So in 2011, the manga finally got re-released with a new translation, and the fans rejoiced. And because we were finally going to get a accurate, correct, uncensored translation of the Sailor Moon manga, and the translator was William Flanagan.
Mhm.
And this translation is not good.
Hmm.
It is, well,
In what way?
it reads like a translation that has not been edited yet. It reads like a first draft of a translation.
Ah.
It is accurate to the point that it doesn't sound like natural English.
That's a pet peeve of mine about translation.
Would you say that was an issue with this as well? Because I kind of did find the dialogue stilted.
Now, when I was reading this, so I saw William Flanagan on the back page, and I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
I know you, Will Flanagan. You're the one who ruined the Sailor Moon manga in 2011.
Oh no.
But he translated this in 2014. And I started reading it, and I was like, this is not as bad as it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's learned a bit.
He improved in 3 years, so good for you.
Mm-hmm.
But, you turn into the first front cover, and like, there's this little comic in the front cover. Mm-hmm. And, like, where was it? There was a sentence here in this comic that made me go, what? It felt so refreshing to have a non-veteran Mami-san and to draw a Sakura-san who wasn't eating all the time. That's not how you would say that in English.
Nope.
No.
It felt really refreshing to draw Mami when she wasn't a veteran and to draw Sakura when she wasn't always eating. That's how you would say that in English.
Yeah.
Like, in a natural kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't say a non-veteran Mami-san and a Sakura-san who wasn't eating all the time. Like, that's... I can tell you...
Very...
That's how you would say that in Japanese.
Yeah, like, that's exactly how this manga, like, reads to me, is someone who translated it pretty directly without changing, like, the sequence of words or the framing to sound like natural English dialogue.
Yeah, like, I opened a random page of the first volume of the Sailor Moon manga from 2011, and this is a line from Luna's dialogue. Quit crying at a moment's notice and letting out that high-frequency screech.
What the fuck?
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes. That's a big yike.
See, to me, that's just physically painful because I wasn't there.
I mean, like, to a certain degree, we kind of needed a super literal manga in the Sailor Moon fandom at the time because the manga that we had for so long was, like, so butchered and not accurate. So, at the time, it was kind of okay. We kind of needed that kind of thing. But then we got like, very recently in the last year or so, we've gotten a new manga that's much better translated. So
yeah, I was going to ask about that because I'm like, I've been seeing those on Twitter and everyone's losing their mind. And I was
yes, anyone who has any interest in reading the Sailor Moon manga, pick up the newest one. Do not pick up the one from 2011. Anyway.
I think
so I just wanted to point that out.
I wonder if that's like something that's kind of evolved over time in like anime and manga fandoms in the West, is because like I remember when we first started getting into this thing, there was very much a vogue for super literal translations that didn't change around like the framing because it was as like a fan it's your job to follow the proper Japanese
it was almost like a
purity
the creators are holy and we cannot touch their
I mean I could do a whole podcast episode on this topic personally.
Yeah, so could we. That's why I'm like,
yeah.
But I mean, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about. Like, in the 90s, we went through this phase of, like, just everything getting censored and edited and...
Yeah.
Like, whole episodes of series getting cut and...
Ursula's kiss.
like...
And the backlash to that was the super literal translations we got after that.
It got to the point where, like, people didn't trust any kind of localization at all. Like, just don't change anything. That's the only way we can trust you, is to just not change anything. But the truth is, you need to have some editing.
You do.
Like, edit the dialogue to at least make it sound like English.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
At least make it sound like dialogue, even if you're not going to do the whole thing where, this person kind of talks in, like, a pretentious sort of way, and this person talks kind of in, like, a thug way. Like, even if you didn't do that, you could still, like, make the sentence be what would be naturally said in English by someone who isn't speaking with any sort of accent.
Yeah, if you can rearrange the grammar just a little bit to make it sound like a natural English sentence, just do that. It doesn't have to be so literal that it doesn't sound like something...
Vana, you ran into this when you were helping with the musical translations.
Well, yeah. Well, like, with the musical translations, a lot of the dialogue is straight from the series. So we got to cheat to a certain extent, but we also got to, like, pick and choose which translations of lines from the series we wanted to go with based on whether it kind of fit the context. Because, of course, the deliveries change, things like that. and that changes as far as I was concerned, which version of a translation you would use.
You
to
changed the iconic baby,
Yes, I did.
You set my heart on fire.
Yes, I sure fucking did.
Yes, because
I couldn't handle
ridiculous. It's so stupid.
I love that line.
It's
a great line, but I hated the translation of it, so I changed it.
What did you change it to again?
Baby, you've set my heart aflame, or something like that.
Yeah, that's better. I like that better.
As long as you say it in the same tone of voice as the dub voice actor for Toga in the English dub, it's fine with me.
I wouldn't know how that sounds.
Oh, baby.
Oh, yeah.
You set my heart afire. I forget how he said it. It's great. It's so good.
It's amazing.
I ironically love the Utena dub.
I have not had the pleasure. But I think, it's, and I don't read a ton of manga, but whenever I read localized manga, this hits me. There's a lot less of a demand for that kind of interpretation. There'll be that, because, with the musicals, we did the same thing to a lesser extent with, the novels and the game, where there was, someone that would translate it from Japanese to English, but then there would be someone that would translate it from English to,
Yeah, I'm still going through the novels to do that.
Yeah, speaking English. And manga almost universally reads to me like they don't put that second person into it at all.
Yeah.
And that's how this reads. Although that example from the Sailor Moon is atrocious, and there's nothing nearly that bad.
There are some doozies. I mean, I don't want to get off track here, but I could, if you wanted me to, I could really pick out some doozies from the Will Flanagan translation of the Sailor Moon manga.
But even with these, there were definitely a few lines I had to actually read a couple times to figure out what was being said.
Yeah,
because the wording just became very stilted, and I'm like, oh, I get why. Because I don't speak Japanese, but I've heard it and kind of dealt with it enough to know how the structure of it works, and I'm like, oh, you did not change the structure of this enough to
and I think the fact that a lot of us back then are now adults, it is a little bit of a we also grew up kind of thing, because I majored in Japanese in college and I lived in Japan for a year, and I would not say that I can fluently speak Japanese, but I know enough Japanese to look at a sentence that's been translated poorly and be like, I know exactly how this sentence was written in Japanese.
Yeah.
You did not change this sentence to make it sound natural in English at all.
At all.
You know what I mean? Yep. So I can look at it and be like, you didn't even try. You didn't really, you only went halfway translating that. So at that point, and I wouldn't have been able to do that for you as a 19-year-old who just got out of high school and was angry that they censored Sailor Moon. You know what I'm saying?
That is valid.
Yeah, and that's the kind of person who would have, in 2011, been like, we need a Sailor Moon manga that's super accurate.
Right.
So that's also another part of it, is that the anime fandom might have matured a little bit too since then.
I think it really has.
Yeah.
I think there's been a lot more of a push. Even just watching how fan subs and Funimation and everyone else dealt, because we actually watched multiple versions of Sarah's Anime.
Yeah.
Because we watched fan subs, and then we watched the official subs and things like that. And there's definitely much more of an interpretive push now, attempts to make an English version of a pun instead of asterisks, this is the pun explanation.
Yeah, it's more like you need to get at the meaning of the sentence and not just the wording of it, which personally I prefer.
Yeah, I personally prefer that too. And people can take different approaches. It's a big debate in the world of translation about how far do you go with meaning versus literal, because the thing about translating for meaning is that it's open to interpretation. Mm-hmm. So technically speaking, one translator's interpretation about what exactly the speaker or author is trying to say can be different. You know, how strongly are they trying to word something? What were they trying to imply? That kind of stuff can be open to interpretation when you're trying to translate for meaning. So there's a balance that you have to strike between literal versus meaning.
Hopefully I find it here, but it might be in the second half. But there's definitely a few instances in this manga where the attempt to preserve the literal translation obfuscated the meaning to the point that I don't know whether I'm supposed to read Kyoko is being sarcastic, or Mami is actually knowing what's going on but not, because it's so...
Another thing is that manga doesn't tend to use the little tails to point at the character about who is talking.
It does not.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's hard to tell from the context who is speaking.
Before we get too far away from the translation debate, I just want to give a tiny shout out to Nozomi for contacting us for help with these Utena subtitles.
Sailor Moon has had a rough ride, but Utena has been honestly very blessed.
That's honestly awesome that they did that.
Yeah, it really
actually,
is.
like, I don't think they expected me to do this, but I went and I, like, polled the fandom, like, do you like this word better? Do you like this translation better? Like, what word do you think we should use here? And I actually went and like, made Tumblr posts about it and Twitter posts about it and polled everybody and had, like, all of these
the
Google
edits
Docs
that are
and
in
things.
the Blu-ray ultimately became, like, a group effort of, like, what would we like to see changed,
like,
and what would we like...
I don't think they quite expected us to do that, but I think in the end it
worked out really well.
A great way of consulting the fans. Like
now I have another Sailor Moon translation story I want to share. We are 40 minutes into this.
I know.
And we haven't even started talking about what happens in this manga yet.
Yeah.
But I really want to share this story. And then we can, I think we can get through this relatively quickly, so it's probably not really that big of a deal. But let me just share this one translation-related Sailor Moon story, and then we can start talking about it. There is, so in the last season of Sailor Moon, Sailor Stars was never brought to the United States. Combination of reasons. One was that Sailor Moon was waning in popularity, and I think the company decided it wasn't going to be profitable, so they never brought it over. Second reason is that
there's no way they were going to be able to do that. Cousins?
Oh, no, they brought the cousin seasons over.
Oh, they brought the cousins, but how are you going to obfuscate what the Sailor Stars did?
Well, yes, that's reason number 2. Reason number 2 was the Sailor Stars, who were in the manga, women who were posing as men as civilians, but in the anime, when they were civilians, were men. And then when they turned into Sailor Guardians, they became women. So they were essentially, I mean, I don't want to call them transgender, really. They changed sex, so...
Yeah, but it's an illusion.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what exactly... I don't want to use the wrong terminology exactly, but they literally physically changed sex in between transformations. So, and, like, then there was a romance between one of those characters and Sailor Moon. So it was kind of like, okay, how are we going to do this?
What do you do with that?
Yeah. So they just never brought that over. So for years and years, all we had were fan subs. The fan sub group was called VKLL. I had these fan subs.
Oh my god,
on VHS. Yeah.
Yep.
And we, the VKLL fan sub translation of Sailor Stars was for all intents and purposes, the official translation of Sailor Stars for us for 20 years. Not that long, maybe 15 years.
Yeah.
And then, a couple of years ago, finally, Sailor Stars gets released officially for the first time, on Hulu, and then a couple months later, it comes out on Blu-ray. So when these episodes first came out on Hulu, you have this romance between Usagi, Sailor Moon, and Seiya, who is one of these gender-changing Sailor Guardians. And there's this subplot in the last season where Tuxedo Mask is missing, and Sailor Moon doesn't know where he is, and she's very upset. And meanwhile, Sailor Starfighter has been trying to romance her the entire season, and Sailor Moon is just
This is the one that looks like Akio, isn't it?
Yes, she has black hair and a long rat tail.
And a red shirt.
Yes. Starfighter has been trying to flirt and date her the entire season, and she's very oblivious because she's in love with Tuxedo Mask. So there's this episode where she's having a mental breakdown on top of a roof in a rainstorm, of course, just to make it sad.
As you do.
And about how she misses Tuxedo Mask, and she doesn't know where he is, and she thinks he's dead, and she's very, very upset. And Starfighter walks over to her and puts her hands on Sailor Moon's shoulders, and in the so the Japanese dialogue is "Ore wa dame desu ka?" or "Ore wa dame ka?" or something like that. And the VKLL translation was, it was like, am I not good enough? Because, she's been trying to woo her the entire season.
Right.
And it's like, have you not noticed that I've been trying to, like, hit on you the entire season? And here you are crying about your boyfriend, and I'm, like, standing right here.
Duh.
And so, at the, that's, like, a big moment in that subplot.
Very shippy.
Yeah. Then the official subtitles come out on Hulu, like, last year. And they translate it to, can I take his place? And it's like, no!
No, that's not what...
First of all, that's not even close to what he's saying literally.
Yeah.
And also, it's, like, awkward and not romantic.
No.
And, like, it just doesn't work at all. So that's, like... I don't even know what they were trying to do with that. So that's the kind of thing where, like, you didn't ask anyone how to translate that line.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what your translators are doing at all.
Oh my god.
Who translated that? And then everybody on Twitter got mad. So, like, all of us were, like, tweeting at Viz Media. Like...
Don't fuck this up, Viz.
All of us were tweeting at them, like, you need to change this line right now. Like, all of us were really angry. And then the Blu-ray came out and it was changed. Like, they changed the dialogue, and the line was different for the dub, and they changed it. So...
Nice.
Very nice. So, but, like, so actually it is really nice that Nozomi did that for you guys, because that is not what we got for Sailor Moon.
Yeah, because, and we didn't even ask, really, for that. The only thing that they would have known about is that, like, absolutely no one in the fandom spells jury with a Y.
Yeah.
And that one they did change before they even contacted us. Yeah. That one they figured out on their own.
Yeah.
But it's not like we had always been complaining about, like, oh, this translation is crap, and so...
Well, I mean, they consulted us.
Yeah, just to be, like, min-maxing it, basically.
They wanted to know what extras we wanted. Yeah. We were like, please translate interviews for us.
And then we got, like, this huge tome, and it was amazing.
Yes, it was amazing.
I don't, like, I've tried to poke around in the Madoka fandom and stuff, and I don't get the impression there's as much of a level of engagement with the Western fan base on that level. Like, the conversation doesn't seem to be usually about translation or things like that so much.
No,
as,
I mean,
like oh, this is this tree means this, and this, like, there's much more of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the interpretation of dialogue and stuff like that seems to be less of a priority to people, I guess. I'm not sure why.
Well, I mean,
it feels more like the Evangelion fan base in that.
Yes, that's why. That's why, because it's a little bit more aimed towards the Evangelion type of audience. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that would be my reason why.
Yeah, so it's definitely different strokes, but, like, I'm approaching this more as, like, from, like, the Sailor Moon Utena end of things, where I'm like, interpret this better.
Yeah. I mean, me too.
With this, so
that's the different approach to fandom, I think.
It is. Yeah. It really is.
So anyway, now that our 50-minute introduction is finished, let's get into the different story manga.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I actually really love the color panel picture of Kyoko. That's really gorgeous.
It is, like, I was stoked to see the cover, because I'm like, oh, more Kyoko stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't get to see them interact at all in the anime, really.
No.
Other than maybe in the Homura flashback episode a little bit.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? Like, okay, so, this is totally, there is a line in the manga, where it's like, where a friend is teasing Mami about, oh, do you have, like, a fiancé now or something? She's talking about Kyoko.
Do you have a boyfriend?
Yeah, do you have a boyfriend or whatever? And I, like, totally laughed, because I was like, well, Kyoko and Mami can't be on the cover, because Kyoko and Sayaka are, like, the canon implied friendship. And then I kind of thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? This tracks. If Mami was Kyoko's first crush, and Sayaka was her second, it tracks, because she's into, like, you know, highly moral, stiff kind of people. High goal girls with, like, hard shells and pretenses, but they're actually very... you know, upstanding, and I'm like, oh, you're trying. And so's her father.
Mm-hmm.
It's that whole,
you know what it is?
You want to fuck your father anyway?
Oh my
even
god!
When it's a girl.
Oh my god! Oh,
like,
no! You went there.
Don't do that. You're bringing too much Utena energy.
Too much energy.
No.
But No, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it follows that's, like, her, like, the kind of person she's attracted to.
Yeah, the model of the kind of person that she loves.
Yeah. And especially when she's so not like that herself. Mm-hmm. So I, like, actually really enjoyed it, and, like, it seemed really weird to me at first. But I can kind of see Kyoko being drawn to Mami in the same way that she was drawn to Sak, and it follows. So I liked that. Like, it added, like, a dimension of characterization to her that wasn't necessarily super obvious in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the whole, like, joke about a boyfriend being kind of like, is this, like, a gay thing?
Once we get into my notes, you're gonna see in my notes, I'm gonna be like, is this gay? Is this a lesbian reference? Is this gay?
Yeah,
that's all throughout my notes here, because I'm like, what is happening? And we're only getting 2 chapters into this, and I'm like, Jesus, this is going pretty hard on the Yuri implications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of, like, that was, like, when the dialogue started to get really stilted, and I was kind of disappointed, because I'm wondering, like, does this come across as even gayer in the, like, the Japanese?
That's what I want to know.
I want to know, because I feel like it might have.
Like, Mami invites Kyoko back to her house for peach pie.
Yeah, it's like...
Peach pie.
Peach, get it?
You know, peaches. They're pink.
LMAO. Yeah. They, Netflix and chill.
They look like butts.
Very loaded.
It is very loaded.
Anyway.
But yeah, like, that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Let us get started.
So it starts out with Mami fighting with a couple other magical girls, and it's like the first panel has a witch on it, and there was definitely like an aesthetic where the thing it reinterprets the most is the witches, as far as how they look and how they're presented. Like, you can see where like the Inukuri influence is there, and with some of the familiar witches, it's drawn pretty straight, like, as seen in the show. But when it comes time for this artist to make, like, their own witches, it's kind of like all, like, half Gekkyoden Inukuri and half, like, more generic monsters. Like, it's not quite, they don't go quite as, like, hard. This, like, looks like a bus or something.
Yeah, like, it's still drawn with pen. It's still drawn with pen and ink.
Yes.
Like, it's not like they pasted a collage onto the page and then the manga characters are still done in ink, you know, which they could have done.
They could have done.
Yeah, it's not like
with that, which makes this look more, like, cohesive and consistent. But it looks like a bus, or, like, is that like a plug?
It looks like a big
like prongs?
Centipede. And at the head of the centipede is like a plug, like an outlet for plugging into the wall. And then it has like big lobster claws and dragonfly wings on its back.
Very extra.
And its tail ends in like frayed wires, maybe. And then its familiars look like little flies, but their wings look like cartoony magnets, like the U-shaped magnets.
Yeah, like they have magnets,
Yeah. And like maybe they have either halos or like little helicopter propeller things coming out of their heads.
Yeah.
One of those two things.
So like it's a lot. It doesn't feel like there's like a visual language, like you don't get the sense of like, oh, this witch was into trees, or like it's a bit more vague than that.
Yeah.
But it is Mami and these two magical girls fighting it.
This feels more like a computer-themed monster.
Yeah.
And not really like a witch from Madoka Magica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is some change there.
Yeah, we see the silhouettes of 3 magical girls fighting this thing.
I don't think we actually hear much about these 2 magical girls again. They're fighting the witch. They nope out. Because the witch is kicking their ass. They nope out, and Mami stays behind, and Mami does kill it. And, like, the grief seed gets dropped, and then they have kind of a conversation. Mami's like, oh, I'm glad you guys made it, et cetera, et cetera. And she tries to share, like, the gist of that entire sequence, as far as I could tell, was Mami wants to share the grief seed.
Yeah.
With the other 2 magical girls that, even though they left before the witch was defeated, you know, we all helped fight it, therefore... Yeah. We should share the resource, and the other 2 magical girls are like, no, that's whoever's...
Basically, the impression I got was, like, that's naive.
She's naive. Yeah. She comes across as super naive, and they kind of, like, laugh her off and go, they say you must be a rookie, you've got a lot to learn, or you would be less eager to give away your grief seeds.
Yeah. I will interject that we would be doing a full outfit analysis of these 2 new magical girls, but we really don't get a great look at them.
Good look at them.
Yeah, so maybe if they show up later,
Yeah.
maybe. But they have very similar haircuts. They might be twin sisters,
one of the
perhaps.
outfits looks almost like Homer's a little bit.
Yeah, but they
got
de-transform pretty quickly.
Yeah, so you don't really get to see too clearly, which is probably by design.
Yeah.
But the whole sequence, like the gist of it, and this is before the actual chapter opens, is I think to get across that this is Mami right when she changes, when she becomes a magical girl, and she doesn't really know the rules. She doesn't seem to understand that there's like a territory
like the territory
dynamic
system.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the whole thing about grief seeds and letting people die so that you can collect more kind of thing.
She's green and she sees the magical girls as like a group that should work together, and the other magical girls are like, no, this is more of a rival situation.
Yeah, you should they tell her you need to treat other magical girls as rivals, and if you try being nice to people, eventually someone's gonna take advantage of it, and like you're gonna get burned for it. So you need to be careful. So they don't really take advantage of her for it, but they kind of give her like a fair warning. Yeah.
And that's kind of the prologue.
Yeah, and I mean, it leaves off with her just being kind of like quiet looking, and like she's like, what the fuck?
Well, they also tell her that she shouldn't kill familiars.
Yes.
Yeah, they say don't go
that
mistaking a familiar for a witch anymore, okay? And I thought, was that trying to imply that they hadn't actually been fighting a witch and that it was just a familiar, and she didn't even notice that?
Well, no, because it drops the grief seed.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So,
but then that makes me go, what the hell are they talking about? Like, is this a translation error then?
I don't think so. I think it's more like
don't go doing that anymore. Like, what are they talking about? Did they see her doing that?
That's kind of what it implies.
Yeah. Okay.
It implies that they were fighting together for a little while.
Yeah, like she seems to already have known them. Like this wasn't the first time they met, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I feel like that's like a reference to something maybe they did in the past when Mami was fighting a familiar. And...
So we're probably, if that's the case, then we probably are going to see them again later.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. It's basically, it sets up that whole like moral dilemma that the show does as well.
Yeah.
It's like Kyoko's big arc. So, and I mean, Mami's take on that was pretty obvious from the get-go. She's going to be more kill them all bad. You know, but between
people,
between saving people and killing familiars and things like that, where you don't get grief seeds, and her belief that she needs to work with others to win, it's clear Mami hasn't really internalized the I actually need to be watching my own hit points kind of thing.
Yeah.
As far as the grief seeds, and that might be because she's naive, but I also kind of wonder if that's not like on some level like a death wish almost, or like a
Mami has strong death energy.
Yeah. Like, I feel like I'm not surprised to hear Mami is not really someone super inclined to protect herself.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, that seems to follow from the character.
Interjection. Congratulations to Hanokage for not giving Mami boob socks.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mami
actually
wears a blouse that fits over her boobs in pretty much all
ridiculous.
of these panel drawings of her.
There's actually not any fan service.
Yeah, I don't see a single
really.
boobie fitting into a boob pocket.
Like, I don't remember getting like any panty shots or like super gratuitous girl on girl for some reason someone tripped over kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of nice, and now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't realize how much I appreciated that.
Yeah.
So the chapter starts and we skip ahead to 1 year later.
1 year later.
We are at Mitakihara Middle School, and, she is at school. We see her at her locker. I guess that's her locker. And she has, like, a little group of friends, apparently, and they invite her out to the mall to do some shopping. And she turns them down very politely because she is off to do her duty of fighting witches instead. And we get a kind of neato little montage of her wandering the city. We get a little, the kind of what you were mentioning earlier, a little bit of recap info about how she traded a wish to fight, to become a magical girl, and now she has to fight witches. And she comes across the door to a labyrinth, which this manga translates as a ward.
Yeah.
Which is kind of odd. Don't know what that's about.
I mean, it kind of fits, but
Yeah.
Yeah. It gets the idea across, but it's not consistent with what we with the series.
Yeah.
Which
Also, I will point out that the labyrinths in this manga are consistent with how they're depicted in the anime, where you just see the door from the outside, which is not consistent with how they were in the first couple episodes of Magireko.
No.
So I just wanted to point that out. It is not the same between the two. No. Yeah, does not make sense.
And she mentions that the word is warped a bit, which is like a dynamic that I don't recall from the series at all. Like, I don't remember it being something you could see from the outside whether someone was already in the labyrinth fighting.
I remember there being, like, a little bit, like, lightning flickers if somebody was attacking inside of it. Like, you could tell if there were attacks going off.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we did see that one where, who was it? Was it Kyoko was inside?
Kyoko was watching Sayaka inside.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
When she was fighting Elsa Maria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I do like that, like, that they kind of reinforced that then.
Mm-hmm.
But she sees it's warped, there's someone in there, so she goes in and finds Kyoko just mauling while trying to maul this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you see immediately there's two Kyokos.
Right.
And you're like, bleh, what the fuck? Because that's
not something we've ever seen.
Yeah, that's not from the series. She's fighting this witch, and
this witch is like a minotaur?
Yeah, it looks like a dog or a minotaur, and like with goat horns or something like that.
And it's got a big fucking axe.
Yeah, and it's got a giant axe. And you find out, like, Kyoko goes, oh, you attacked the fake, so she has, they call it fascination magic in this, where she's got that ability to, like, create duplicates of her, and, you know, that old convention.
Create duplicates of herself, and
confuse the enemy.
Yeah, I think there was implied that she can do some kind of emotional work with it.
Yeah. I think we might see that later.
Yeah. Probably.
So she poofs, or she defeats this minotaur, stabs it.
Yep.
And she says, I finally got my revenge, which I think we're going to find out a little bit later on.
Yep.
And Kyubei's like, no, you didn't. And the minotaur seems to be reforming, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's when, and Kyoko's kind of like in trouble here. Like, she's about to get basically killed by this minotaur.
She was taking her victory lap a little early.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Mami comes in and grabs the Minotaur's axe with her ribbon power and essentially saves her. And and from being killed at the last second. And then Tiro finales the Minotaur.
All around.
Yeah.
Because you have to. And she points out, you know, that the witch is using the same fascination magic Kyoko is, which is bad luck for Kyoko.
Yeah, so your fascination magic is not going to work on it because it has the same power.
Well, it does seem to work on it, because, like, the witch attacks the wrong Kyoko, but the problem is you're fighting, like, fire with fire.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's more correct. Yeah. Like you're gonna have a hard time with it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, okay, if you're fighting with the same power, you're kind of balancing each other out, and it becomes a different kind of fight. Mm-hmm. But she wipes this monster out, and Kyoko's like, I'm glad I'm alive. And you find out that this is the first witch Kyoko fought, and it kicked her ass the first time around. So hence the revenge. And she had left her turf. I can't remember. Her turf was somewhere else.
Kazumino.
Not Mitakihara. Kazumino, yeah. Her turf, she departed to chase down this witch, and that's how they met. Otherwise, Kyoko apparently knows the rules well enough.
To stay in her own.
Yeah.
And then, what happens with the grief seed?
They beat the witch together. Mami says it's actually the axe that's the witch.
Yeah.
So I'll beat the body and the familiars, and you take out the axe. So they kill the witch together, and it's all very pew pew pew. Lots of very busy artwork. Lots of onomatopoeia. Lots of manga action, as we were discussing earlier. A little bit hard to follow. Like, you really have to...
Like, it took a while.
You really have to sit and look at each panel and, like, digest what is happening in each panel to follow what's going on.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of thing you can just, like, let your eyes move over very quickly.
No.
But
it's definitely not.
They do kill it and beat it. And Kyoko is very cute.
She's adorable. She's
She's
all ooh and
very cute and very happy that they beat the witch. It's very different Kyoko than we're used to.
very. She doesn't smoke yet. She doesn't do the chewing on the Pocky, so it looks like she's smoking.
Yeah. But once the witch is gone, they introduce each other and they say their thank yous. Kyoko explains that that was the first witch she fought when she first became a magical girl, and she felt like she had to be the one who beat it, so she wandered out of her own territory and into Mitakihara, and that's why she was in Mami's territory. So she is kind of apologetic, but Mami's Mami's like, hey, it's cool, it's fine, we're here to protect people and we shouldn't fight over territory anyway, which Kyoko seems to be kind of impressed that she says that.
Actually,
yeah,
she's got kind of a cute face. Actually, we have criticisms about the action, but I actually really like how the dialogue scenes are drawn in the manga.
Yeah.
I find that they're very good at creating the emotive tone. The expressions are really easy to get an emotional cue from. She's very good at drawing that sort of thing, so you get when Kyoko's impressed or intimidated and things like that. So I actually found those scenes a lot easier to read.
I mean, yes, totally agree with you, but I would also say that that's a major focus. That's a big difference between Eastern and Western comics in general. Manga's very much manga have so many close-ups on just eyes and faces.
Yes,
you don't really see that in Marvel comics and stuff.
No,
yeah. So Mami insists that they share the grief seed, which
they do.
Kyoko also finds kind of surprising. And then she invites her over to her apartment and feeds her pie.
Yep. And Kyoko is drooling when it's mentioned.
Yeah.
It's she's got the sweet tooth already. And
also, Mami says that thank you for waiting while the pie baked. So
yeah, so they went and made the pie.
This is a fresh I haven't ever baked a pie from scratch, but doesn't it kind of take a long time? Doesn't it take a few hours?
If you have the pastry ready already, then no.
If you have already made the pastry, it's probably only going to take half an hour at most.
Oh,
yeah.
Otherwise, maybe an hour.
Yeah.
For something like pie.
Okay.
Mama's better at pastry than I am.
It's the crust that takes all the time.
Okay.
And Kyoko strikes me as someone who might already have crusts made. She homemade them, but she keeps the crust.
Also, we see later that Kyoko turns a bunch of books into snacks, so it's possible she used magic.
That is also true.
Yeah.
She magicked the shit out of that crust.
Yeah.
But yeah, she feeds peach pie from scratch, which is very gay sounding.
It's very gay. I mean, I don't know. Are peaches a symbol of womanhood in any way? Peaches as a fruit? So. Is that a symbol of anything? The peach?
Yes. I can't remember what, though.
I know that on Twitter, peaches
Momoka
are butts.
In Penguin Drum.
Yeah. No, I can't remember what it's symbolic of.
I don't know that in this case it's I don't think the manga's really going for that kind of thing as far as, you're supposed to read the peach as lesbian or whatever. But
okay, but we are, though.
We are, though. I'm reading it as gay because she, invited her to her house for food and is, cooking it in front of her, which...
I don't know what it is. It's usually you guys who are like this and not me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just in a mood today. But when I was reading this earlier today, I was like, this is gay. Maybe it's their expressions.
Yeah.
I just got a vibe from this that was this
I
is
did too.
They're flirting with each other.
Yup.
And then I read that it was peach pie and they baked it while Kyoko was waiting. I don't know, there was just something about that I was like,
yeah.
It's intentional.
Yeah.
It's definitely intentional because it called the manga calls back to that
it does.
Kind of feeling later on.
That's what's here instead of panty shots and stuff.
There you go.
We're not getting panty shots, but we're definitely getting some
gay.
Yeah, some energy. There's
gay vibes.
There's some curious energy there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But so she's eating the pie, they love it, etc. And then Kyoko's just like, "Can I be your disciple?" And I kind of wonder what the word used in Japanese was.
Mm-hmm.
Disciple seems very carefully chosen given Kyoko's religious background.
Yeah. I wonder that too.
I wonder
yeah.
That's a loaded thing for someone like Kyoko to say.
Exactly.
So,
actually.
Disciple, is that really setting up a dynamic for the two?
Kyoko is very impressed by Mami.
Very.
She's like,
Yeah,
wow,
like-
you're just so amazing. Like I'm just kind of doing this by the skin of my teeth. I don't know what I'm doing, but you take all these notes and you're doing research and
Yeah.
you know, you go into these fights prepared and you're strong. Like you do all this work and you're super
Yeah.
strong. And so
Well, Mami's
I want
approaching it as like a career.
yeah, I want you to
Almost,
I want to be your I want you to teach me, sensei, basically.
Yeah,
like,
teach me your ways.
Yeah.
She wants to be senpai. She wants a senpai.
Yeah. And Mami does the huh face, like the
Yeah.
anime what?
Yeah.
Shocked
Mhm.
face. Yeah.
It's cute.
That's the end of chapter 1.
Yep. Doesn't it, like, it continue, like, chapter 2 actually just straight up continues the conversation, doesn't it?
No.
No.
It's cut to
Chapter
something
2
else.
starts
Okay.
with
No,
the
it cuts
fiance
right to
conversation.
the callback that I
Oh,
mentioned.
okay. Go ahead.
With her friends talking to her in school and saying, "Oh, you've been in a happy days all day. Did something good happen to you? Are you real spacey right now? Did you get a boyfriend?"
Yeah. And you're like,
yeah. And Mommy does the huh face again. And then, so they're talking
did
about it.
make a
She's like, I
friend.
did make a friend. And Mommy says, I don't know how to say it. It's a little different from my normal friends. In a way, if we didn't trust each other beyond just being just friends, then I don't think we could be as compatible. We've only just met, so I can't say for sure that it'll turn out that way. But I'm hoping she can become someone I can feel at ease in trusting my life to. And the other girls are like, okay, not a boyfriend, a
Yay.
fiance.
Yeah. It just comes across as super gay, and that's one of those lines that felt, like, very stilted to me. So I'm kind of, like, wondering, like, is that supposed to come off as that gay? Is it not?
I feel like it was.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
feel like
this
it
is
was.
very stilted.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it just comes across as, like, she definitely, like, is aware she sounds like she's describing a lover or something
Well,
like that.
I mean, Mommy says right after, a magical girl like me made a magical girlfriend.
Aw.
And I
Aw.
mean, like, that's loaded.
That's gay.
Still,
Yeah.
because, I mean, I made a magical girlfriend is only one space away from being I made a magical girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Magical girlfriend.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's our
But yeah,
favorite genre.
like not to get back on the translation and
Mm.
keep harping on Will here, but like if we didn't trust each other beyond being just friends. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you just say if we didn't trust each other more than just friends would, or if we didn't
Mm.
trust each other more than just friends, or you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
I don't think
If we
we
didn't
would
trust
be
each other
as
even more
compatible if
intensely
we
than
didn't
friends, that
have
kind of thing.
trust beyond the trust that friends would have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you could easily reword that. I could do it right now. Just if
Yeah.
you gave me a minute to think of a way to reword that. Like
Yeah. I get what they're getting at.
yeah.
Like, she doesn't think of Kyoko as a friend. It's something different.
I feel like
perhaps
I
deeper,
feel like we're
implicitly
already more than
deeper.
friends. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly that. I already feel like we're more than friends.
Yeah.
Just
Gay.
Gay. Just the gay vibes are just emanating off of these comic pages.
They are.
Honestly.
They really are. Like this is very gay. I
Mhm.
love
Just
it.
fine.
I'm not
I love it.
complaining. I love it.
No.
No. Like screw
This does make Mommy kind of creepier in the anime though.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
A little, yeah.
Because this is coming off as super gay, but Mommy in the series when she's like trying to like mother and encourage Sayaka and Madoka does not come across as gay at all.
In the anime, that's mature mommy who's more I
Yeah,
think weathered.
She's just trying to take care of people.
This is immature Mommy, but she still has that instinct to take care of everybody. Like,
yeah, this
she's
is
just
apparently
very...
the first time mommy has attempted to team up
do
and
this.
take care of somebody.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, she has tried on the mother role.
Kyoko says,
Okay.
Mommy-san, you're my ideal in every way.
Gay.
Yeah.
I'm just Kyoko. Come on, girl. You'll be all right.
So
You'll be okay.
mommy says, I don't really want you to be my disciple exactly, but you could be my friend and I could be like your senpai magical girl. And Kyoko seems to think that's fine.
Mhm.
So we see them meeting up after school in like a park of some kind, apparently.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
we get like this cute little montage of them hunting witches.
Fighting learning.
witches.
In this little part, it is a little bit more Inu curry flavored, just
It
from the
is.
drawings, which is interesting.
Yep.
But so the artwork
flower
on this
beads or
little part
something.
is really nice.
It is.
Yeah, and we flash forward to them when they're done, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And
even in today's fight, I feel like I could rely on you. Like, aw, let's spend a lot of time together, okay? It's very wholesome and
it's very cute.
yeah, like Mami's like
they're good
making
friends.
sure Kyoko feels like she's valued and important in the fight, not just a freeloading.
I like the little note here that Mami treated her to dinner again.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
And there's no need for that at this point. Because, like, Kyoko still has her family and everything, so it's not like, oh, Kyoko's living on the street starving, so I'm feeding her. This is, like, literally, no, you could go home and eat, but stay with me and have some peach pie.
True. Although I will say that Kyoko was probably still, like, on the verge of starving at the time that she met Mami for the first time.
No, that's true, yeah. They were still coming out of poverty or whatever. And anyway, she clearly has, like, the worst sweet tooth, which is a mood, so.
Yeah. So Kyoko runs off, and Mami's, like, very flattered and happy that she actually got called senpai.
Yep, which is wholesome.
She isn't in these clubs, which we've talked about, because clubs is such a big part of school life in Japan. Mm-hmm. So she's never been called senpai before, because she doesn't really have any underclassmen that she gets to hang out with. Mm-hmm. So she starts getting into it, and there's this cute little panel where she's trying to brainstorm names for Kyoko's ultimate attack.
Yeah. It's kind of got the same, like, Madoka designing her outfit.
It's really cute.
On the piece of paper energy. It's, like, super cute.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we need to name our little attacks, and she's, and, like, they already have mentioned Tiro Finale, so, like, you get the, like, maybe, like, this is Mami's thing. She likes to name attacks, which is kind of cute and wholesome, because not all of the magical girls do that. Like, it doesn't seem like some of them just sort of fight and do their thing. Like Homura doesn't scream, like, this is my attack that I'm doing. Like in the Sailor Moon way, this is more
time
the
stop
magical
special.
Girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mami's a weeb.
So then we get Mami and Kyoko again, and they're talking about how accurate Mami's witch finding is, and Mami explains to her how she finds so many witches. She says, I think witches are attracted to places where humans are in despair. When you find a place that's a crossroad for troubled hearts, there should be some kind of darkness nearby, so I start my searches around the centers of those places. Which is basically, like, just a little expanded version of what she said in the series.
Yeah, she teaches the others the same thing.
Yeah. So this makes Kyoko get a little bit curious about her. Mm-hmm. So she says, hey, Mami-san, how old were you when you became a magical girl, and what did you wish for? And Mami's like, why are you asking? And she says, well, you're just so accomplished and you know all this stuff. I'm guessing it took you a lot of time to learn all this, and I was just curious. And then Mami gets kind of sad, and we know why. But, Kyoko says, oh no, I'm so sorry. Should I have not asked that? And
it's like a rude question. She doesn't, like, realize, like,
well, it's a really personal question. Yeah. It is. Like, it's not something that you would just say to anybody.
Yeah. The whole, like, what you wished for thing seems to be kind of, like, almost a taboo. Like, you don't necessarily ask or divulge.
That's only for people who are really close, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
it has the potential to be a very sensitive topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kyoko's not sure that she has that kind of relationship with Mami yet.
But she asks anyway and then realizes, oh, that was callous or whatever.
And Mami accepts it because she thinks they do have that kind of relationship. Yes. Which is nice.
Yeah.
And she explains what happened and why she became a magical girl. And it's the same story. That doesn't divulge at all. Her and her family were in a car accident. She saved herself. She mentions that her parents died, and there's that whole, why the fuck didn't you just wish for everyone to survive?
Yeah.
Take that I've already bitched about, but made in a rash moment, etc., etc.
Yeah, and Mami says, I realized, I couldn't be sad forever because I realized that witches could also, make somebody's parents die. So since I'm alive, I have the power to kill the witches and spare somebody else being sad in the way that I'm sad right now. So
Mami's whole, like, emotional drive at that point,
that's what's kept
to protect
me
people
going
from her experience. Yeah. if I can
And she
prevent
says, that's why I'm so
suffering,
happy that you're fighting with me, because you're the first person who... And this is an example of awkward translation.
Yeah, like, I'm not sure what they're getting at.
Yeah,
there.
it's translated as,
first person
you're the first person who ever recognized my way of fighting, which doesn't make any sense. But I'm pretty sure what Mami's trying to say is, you're the first magical girl who kind of had the same motivation for fighting that I have, and is, like, going along with it the same way that I am, as, like, as contrasted with those magical girls from the beginning.
They're, like, treating it more as a rivalry that want to grow the grief seeds, etc., etc.
And we see Kyoko's doing like a ... hearing all this, because, as we know, Kyoko has, like, a very similar kind of attitude towards all this. And Mami probably doesn't even know that yet. No.
And then
she invites her to meet the parents. They're at that phase of the gay relationship.
Yes.
This is going nice.
They're at the meet, come over to my house and meet my folks phase.
Yeah.
This is very gay.
They're getting far. So Mami is invited to dinner.
I think it's so cute. We see Kyoko's little sister here, and she calls Mami big sister Mami-chan.
Yeah, like I that's...
It's a little bit of an awkward translation. I think it was probably like
Mami One-chan
or something like that.
Yeah,
Mami One-chan.
It's cute. It's very,
but
like,
it's very cute.
It's very like the kid, like, immediately recognizes Mami as, like, the senpai type.
Yep.
But they're eating dinner. You see the father. You see
this scene made me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it really did.
So uncomfortable, because I already hate Kyoko's dad so much.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So this is, like, I guess I can say this is well written, because I already do not like Kyoko's dad.
Yes.
He has nothing interesting to say. All he does is talk about himself.
I know. It's very...
Yikes.
It's very selfish.
Yeah. He is not... I get horrible, creepy vibes from him. Just, he's only on a few pages, and I'm already like, ugh. He's just, like, I don't know. He has this threatening aura.
It's... Even the fact that, because they comment on, like, this was a nice meal or whatever, and they were like, why didn't you warn us? We would have made something nicer. And Kyoko was like, well, no, because then Mami would feel bad getting something that nice. I just wanted to, like, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And this immediately segues into him talking about how they're now thriving a bit more, because his sermons are working better, and it's just very, like, me.
Actually, the one thing I kind of wanted to point out is that in one panel, we've got a picture of Kyoko's younger sister. What's her name again?
Oh, God.
I can't remember. And Kyoko's younger sister hugging him.
Momo.
But he does not hug her back. He doesn't even look at her. He's just kind of standing there ignoring the fact that his child is hugging him. Yeah. And that's, like, to me, that's a big visual signal that he does not give a shit about the kid.
Yeah. Let's see, there's I serve as pastor to my children's flock. My sermons are meant to bring a bit more happiness to the world. However, for years no one would lend an ear to them, and my family suffered because of it. Which is like, so you were content to let your family starve and suffer.
So you wouldn't go get a fucking job.
Yeah, so you could preach your shit.
How full of yourself are you?
Yeah.
Go work at Publix, you jackass, during the week.
Go make ham sandwiches.
Seriously. Like, your family should not be starving.
Yeah. It's clearly, and I mean, that's implied in this show as well, but you don't really get into his character at all in the show. But this is like, dude, you're so stuck on your message and on your preaching that you won't take care of your family first. And this is something that I got from the series, a lot of misanthropic, Urabuchi energy from. Yeah. Because you never actually find out what it is he's preaching.
No.
He's got this preaching that he's, like, trying to bring happiness to the world and blah, blah, blah. And you find out he's been fucking excommunicated and all of this stuff. And so clearly he's, like, preaching some wild shit. Nobody was listening until Kyoko made her wish. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what were
you saying?
Yeah, what shit were you on?
What could he have possibly been saying that,
right?
A, literally nobody would listen to, B, got him excommunicated, and, like, C, he was so devoted to telling that he wouldn't go and do anything else to support his family.
Yeah,
it really doesn't make any sense when you think about it.
And D, something that Kyoko believes would spread happiness, because she does believe
She does believe it. So she drinks this Kool-Aid. So, but I think it's interesting that you never find out what it is, because it doesn't matter.
It literally doesn't matter.
Because every person that is like this is the same way. Like, every person that's, like, this devoted to, like, preaching their cause. It just feels like very Gen Urobuchi being like, people with a cause, fuck them. They care about nothing.
They're all Tiger Kings.
Yeah, they're yeah. All of these preachers sound the same because they're all full of themselves and blah blah blah. It's very misanthropic Gen energy, and it carries through into the manga, and I kind of love it. I like that you don't find out what it is he's preaching, because it doesn't matter. It's bullshit, and you know it.
Yep.
So, and Kyoko is a little kid, so she supports it, and. Like, I don't necessarily get because Kyoko never suggests or tells you anything about what he's preaching either.
No, she just says that she believes it's right.
Yeah, she believes it's right, but clearly she believes it's right because it's her dad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think she's seriously, like, read the receipts and checked out his sermons and maybe thought about it. It's your dad. That makes it right. Children, that's how that works.
That's literally the thing that makes a difference to her. He could really be preaching anything.
And it, like, actually, like, is it here that, I don't know, I think it might be a little bit later, but she goes on to say, like, oh, well, as long as my dad is happy. Mm-hmm. So it's this, even her belief in what he's preaching is clearly more about her affection for her father, who is clearly not affectionate back.
No, and it's shit. Like, in my notes I put, like, this is very, like, patriarchal. Too. Like, this is very...
Extremely.
Yeah.
And we got that vibes in the series, too.
You just get the energy that even though she has a family, she doesn't. Mm-hmm. And in that sense, I guess she contrasts Mami, because Mami has no family at all. You don't really find out about what her family was like, but clearly she mourned the family. So you kind of imagine she had, like, that, you know, typical family unit, but a happy one. And then you have Kyoko, whose family is still alive, but you kind of get the impression she has not been enriched by them much. If that is
such a like, that is actually such a cool contrast between them, like a foil between them. I didn't even notice that. Like, Mami with no family and Kyoko, where her family was like her entire world.
But it's nothing. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not necessarily a good thing.
You also have to account for the distance between them, because she's a magical girl and can't tell them everything anymore.
She now has secrets and stuff.
Part of that distance from her family is the fact that she has to keep secrets, but I don't think that accounts for all of it. I think it's just that her father is a piece of shit.
And, given how frequently the transformation into a magical girl kind of has, like, this implicit, I don't want to say sexual, but, like, loss of innocence kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, there's this, you know, you become just more, it's like original sin. Your original sin, you become the magical girl. There's, like, the Faustian bargain. There's a lot of, like, that kind of imagery around it. So it's having Kyoko be a magical girl and having to keep that as this, like, big, big, dark secret from her family, especially this religious patriarchal father, has a lot of she's hiding a sexual relationship energy kind of thing, almost. Like, I'm not saying that's... But it is, like, it has that same...
The gay vibes are penetrating everything.
Yeah, you're getting more gay vibes.
Yep.
But it's definitely that kind of sense of, oh, I have to keep this naughty thing from my father, who will stop adoring me if he finds out about it. And it's got that same... it's the same experience as you would be disappointing your father if your father found out you were sexually active. He'd lose his fucking mind, or if you were gay or whatever.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, it kind of even goes back to what we're talking about with the gay energy coming off of this manga. Yeah.
Gay vibes.
Yeah, there's gay vibes. So, like, Kyoko definitely perceives, like, she's aware that what she's done and what she's become is something her father would
not
disapprove of.
Yeah.
And, like, she kind of sees it as a sacrifice she made for him or whatever. But it isolates her from her family to the point where she's there, but she's not.
Yeah.
They're both alone, but one is alone in a crowd and the other is alone in a room.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. And that contrasts, I think, in the show with the other relationships, because, like, Madoka has a great relationship with her family.
Yeah.
Like, it's beautiful. And I think so does Sayaka, pretty, like, to a point. So it's kind of like a contrast. Like, these are what broken homes look like. And that this whole sequence with them eating at Kyoko's house has that, like, veneer of a civil and happy family, but it's so obvious the cracks are there. And I think, like, credit to the artist for getting that across, because it does, like, when you're looking at the images, you see, like Yasha said, like, the father is not even, like, hugging his kid back.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of, like, tense, unhappy energy there.
Yeah, he feels cold and tense. The mother doesn't really look happy. She feels very tense. Her sister, Momo, is very cute and bubbly, but she's, like, the most energetic person in the whole room. Yeah.
By far. And so the father's, like, still going off on his shit and says, oh, well, for a long time nobody listened to anything I had to say, and then suddenly, people started showing up and listening and blah, blah, blah. And the mother says, if you believe and continue to plant the seeds of that faith, then those seeds may finally flower. And that's basically, like, the only thing she says, really, and it just sounds like a sermon.
Yeah.
So you get the mother is very, like, I don't like it.
She's kind of just repeating what her husband is saying. It's like she's just another...
Well, I mean, she directly says that is something my husband once said.
Yeah, she's just another person worshipping,
parroting
him.
Yeah, parroting that philosophy.
But as he tells this story,
Mommy figures it out.
Mommy's she's kind of like, I see, I've parsed this out. So she's definitely figured out kind of what's going on. Kyoko has dropped a couple hints about her wish previously, but it's very easy for Mommy to, like, kind of... But she doesn't say anything, obviously, because that would
Here's another gay vibes moment. The mother says, after all, you're the first friend Kyoko has ever brought over. And Kyoko's all like, I told you to keep that a secret.
Yeah.
More gay vibes.
More gay vibes.
I've never had a girlfriend before.
Yeah. You've never brought a girlfriend here. So after dinner, like, they're just kind of walking away or whatever, and Mommy brings it right up that your wish as a magical girl
was for your dad.
Yeah, was for your dad.
Yeah.
I wasn't wishing for us to be rich or anything. It's just I wanted all the people to listen to what my father had to say. That's all.
Like, she's trying to play it off like, I wasn't trying to be selfish or anything.
Yeah.
Like, she's trying, she kind of feels a little bit, I think maybe she feels a little bit bashful about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone...
Not one person tried to understand what he was saying. Nobody would even listen. I got frustrated so much I couldn't stand it. And Mommy says, I see. It was for your father's sake.
Mommy kind of tries to elegantly express some doubt about whether that was such a good idea to make that wish.
Yeah.
Without really saying it. She kind of tries to tiptoe around it.
Good idea.
Yeah, and so this is where the translation gets a little like stilted, that I actually had trouble kind of parsing out what they're getting at. So the dialogue is, it's simply that I think that a wish for someone else that also fulfills a wish for yourself too would be a very wonderful thing. Our battles put us in great danger, and as an aspect of that, we must sacrifice at least part of ourselves. I feel that one can withstand the price of a wish better if it's for oneself. So I guess Mommy is saying, like, wishing for someone else is
when you're not getting anything out of it, why do you still fight?
Yeah, she says, but if it isn't ... like, after all that, like, she kind of trails off,
which is kind of like kind of negative for her. Like, it's like, oh, like, you're not usually used to thinking of Mommy as selfish, but she's basically saying the wishes should be
for yourself,
should be more selfish.
She's right, and we even hear Kyoko say that in the anime later.
Yeah, she's definitely learned that lesson.
Yeah.
But Kyoko, like, basically interjects, like, she's like, I'm not hearing that. In that case, it's all right. I did make the wish for me because I made it for my dad.
Yeah.
And I want my dad to be happy, so it was for me. Which is some logic.
It makes sense, but it is also, like, yikes.
Yeah.
Especially when we know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, there is of a part of this translation I do like here. Because she says, I wanted happiness for everyone, myself included. And the first step to that was just make sure my dad was happy. And that, again, very patriarchal.
Mm-hmm. That's, oh God,
if my dad's happy, that means all of us will be happy. My dad comes first,
If my father's in a good mood, he won't get drunk and beat me today.
Yeah.
Like, it
has that abused kid energy.
I don't think they're at that phase yet. Like,
no,
I know
he
starts drinking later, but it has that, like this child thinks that the safest thing and the happiest thing is to make sure her dad is happy, which it's his, like, clearly in this family unit, it's his mood that dictates, like, everything about, if he's in a bad mood, clearly the family suffers whether he's, like, physically or verbally abusive or not.
And this is why subscribing to patriarchy is bad.
Yes,
yeah, like, it's
seriously.
It's got that patriarchal, like, oh, I have to make dad happy or nobody's gonna be happy. It's very, like,
Yeah.
And it's
What,
cringy.
after she's basically monologuing to herself, and then after she says all this, there's this panel of her walking away from Mami, and she's like, "Yep, that's the deal." Like she's trying to convince herself,
Yeah.
which feels like a very Kyoko thing to say.
Very.
So this is an example, Will, of good translation.
Please
Like-
continue to do that.
Like that's the deal, which is also kind of, I feel like, alludes to like religious stuff, like the deal.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
keep dad happy, keep the head of the household happy, and everyone else will be happy. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Mami looks like she's kind of got her doubts.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, she doesn't accept this wholeheartedly, but she says, I'm sure you'll be just fine, because Mami is absolutely the kind of person that provides false assurances when she should not.
Yep.
That is actually a thing about Mami I hate.
Yeah, she's an
Because-
optimist, unfortunately, not necessarily a realist.
Well, like, not like an aside, but like kind of like alongside this, like as a nurse, because that's what I do, I'm an RN. As a nurse, you have to learn very, very fast and very, very clearly not to tell people something you can't back up. Like you don't provide reassurances when you shouldn't. You can't say, "Oh, he'll be fine." You don't know that. You know, "Oh, this, he'll be out of the hospital in a week," or "This will go well," or you can't provide people that kind of false reassurance because it's dangerous. And Mami is
Right.
absolutely the kind of person
Who
that
would
provides
go right
that.
ahead and do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Provides that false reassurance without really thinking about the consequences and not being able to actually enforce what she's saying. She's like, everything will be fine, but Mami, you don't have the power to make that happen.
Right.
But she's just so set on pleasing. She's a people pleaser. So she'll say whatever she has to say to make it seem all right, but it gets into that whole, like, she's playing the role of the senpai and the supportive figure, but there's the cracks in it.
Yeah.
Or
And, like, I think
she's
that's one of
part of
them.
it is just reassuring herself too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's trying to convince herself too, for sure.
And then they get into a fight.
And then they fight.
Yeah. Then their rings
Yeah,
start to
then-
glow. Kyubey appears. Fucking Kyubey. I'm sure he made this witch appear on purpose, like he always does.
Mm-hmm.
He finds opportune moments to make witches appear
Yes.
for optimal manipulation.
Mhm.
Even if you disapprove of all of his methods, I do
Yep.
think he probably made this witch appear on purpose.
Yeah, he's like, oh, we need to kind of
Yeah.
cut this short. This is too gay. Bring a
Yeah,
witch in.
he shows up and he says, there's a grief seed. It's about to hatch. You gotta go get it. And
Yep.
they say, okay, we're gonna go fight it. And so they look at each other and they do the nod and they run off to go fight the witch.
Oh, and they have this like moment where their hands touch.
Yeah.
They touch hands.
This
Oh,
is gay.
okay. Ooh,
Gay.
it's so gay. Just
And then they
fine.
do it again.
And
right
then they do
before
it again.
Fight.
Oh, it's like, yeah, that looks more like a high five.
Well, yeah,
But
but
it's
at
still,
the same
like-
time, it's calling back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You girls are.
It's also gay energy. And at one point, it doesn't look like this is during the fight, but at one point there's a panel where Mami holds up a little sign that says, Sakura-san, your attack is called Rosso Fantasma. It means red ghost. And Kyoko's kind of like, eh?
I don't know about that.
What?
It's like, you named it? What? That had not occurred to her. And then it gets super gay.
Yeah.
It's so gay. Like, there's like an internal monologue Mami has.
About
And-
how well they understand each
Mhm.
other, and she never thought she would find anybody like that, and ever since I decided somewhere inside of me I wanted the perfect partner.
Ooh.
Finally, I was able to meet her, a panel with the two of them smiling at each other. And it looks like that whole montage was several witches,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because they start talking about how invincible they are.
Yeah, if it's the two of us, then even Walpurgis would go down. It's which Kyoko is saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
So
interesting.
Kyoko already knows about Walpurgis Nacht. But
Yeah.
Mami does not, which I did find interesting.
Well, oh, is that what's happening here?
Yeah.
See, I got confused.
Yeah, because
But this is, so I think maybe you're right, because this is another thing where it's like, there's no little
It's not
tails
clear
to
who's
say
talking.
who is
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah.
And it looks like Mami is all like, Walpurgisnacht, is that? And Kyoko's
Interesting.
Like, yeah, that's the one. That's the big one.
Yep.
So, Mami first learned about Walpurgisnacht from Kyoko,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and Kyoko learned about it as a rumor.
Which
Yeah.
is
Interesting.
Which is interesting. Yeah, because where did Kyoko learn that? Because
Well,
Kyoko seems
she
very
says-
much like another
she says-
Mogul.
She says, Walpurgisnacht, this is Mami, Walpurgisnacht is that? And then Kyoko says, that's the one, that huge witch that all the magical girls' rumors are about. So
Yeah.
it's a rumor. I guess that's just
Ooh.
like,
Who was that?
I don't know exactly. I mean, rumors are rumors, so I guess it's just like people know about it.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really know anything about Walpurgis Nacht, really. Still,
it seems it just seems very strange because Walpurgis Nacht just gets brought up out of nowhere, but you're like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, this implies that Homer is already in the background somewhere else, just fucking
Preparing.
the timeline repeatedly.
Yeah, maybe.
Yep.
So Kyoko says, we could take on Walpurgis Nacht. We could even save the whole world. And Mommy kind of giggles like, oh, you're getting very confident, but, it's good to have goals. And she's being very cute Mommy, like very One-san giggly with her hand in front of her mouth.
What if this is because it's a separate timeline, right?
Right.
What if this is one of the early timelines that Homer went through, where she thought maybe it would be easier to beat Walpurgis Nacht if more girls knew about it, so she started spreading the rumor to try to attack multiple magical girls.
Yeah,
that is interesting.
I like that.
And obviously it failed.
Yeah,
but this could be like an earlier attempt like Homer made at defeating Walpurgis Nacht before she realized that this doesn't fucking work. So I'm going with that. But they decide, let's protect the town together. They've got this idea that they're going to be able to own Walpurgis Nacht on their own. So you cut back to Kyoko's family, or to Kyoko in bed, and it looks like she sleeps with her sister, which is another,
like they share a room, I guess?
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, it happens, but that sucks.
But they live in like a big
church, basically.
I don't want to call it a church, but like a compound, like a religious like a building attached to the church.
Very culty.
Yeah.
But she's woken up by Kyubei. Kyubei is like, Kyoko, this is bad.
This is what I meant. Kyubei totally made this witch appear.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. This is on Kyubei.
Yeah.
Kyubei, you little fuck. Kyoko responds to it though, and she's like, what is this smell?
This is weird.
She goes into this
the mention of the smell.
Into the church, and the church is it's huge. It's got this big ladder going up. It just looks very culty. It looks like where the final boss in an RPG would be.
This is the church from the anime when Kyoko brings Sayaka to the church. It's just not smashed up with broken glass. Yeah. It's just completed. The glass windows are still intact and everything's still the same.
And I feel she's entering she's finding a bunch of people that have been witch kissed, and it's kind of similar energy to the witch that takes Hitomi in the series.
H and Ellie.
Yeah. Where they kind of become culty and try to kill themselves. There's a bunch of people and we never needed the word of God to begin with. We found an easy way to contentment without relying on this crap.
Suicide.
Suicide. They're piling up all of the books and
burning them,
and
pouring gasoline on them to burn them.
So they're there. It's a witch's curse. Kyubei's explaining, and it's starting to spread. And they're starting this fire, and Kyoko has to protect her home basically. Yeah. This is when she turns all of the books that are being set on fire into Pocky.
This is fucking awesome.
Which is what a fucking power to have.
This is the point in the manga where I was like, this is actually good.
Dude.
Because it would have been so easy for her to just transform and start fighting the witch here.
Yeah.
But this is great. This is so great. I got to this part and I was like, there's this page where, they're about to burn the books, and she's like, they intend to burn the church. I will not allow that. And she's praying, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, she's going to transform now and fight him. But then on the next page, the box of matches turns into a box of Pocky. And then,
it's just amazing, because it's that kind of thing, is that your power? Oh my god, what a power to have.
I know, right?
How do you not abuse the shit? But it is kind of something she demonstrates elsewhere, when she transforms the binoculars, binoculars on the thing, she has transformation of item power, which is some fucking Harry Potter shit, which is amazing.
I loved that so much. It was so Kyoko. It made me smile. It made me laugh.
It did.
It was,
and I mean, from there she goes straight though into fighting mode. This is my father's church.
Yes.
And she does transform, does she not?
She does. She transforms and she's like, I'm going to kick all your asses and take care of this because this is my father's church. So
wait, you know why I loved that so much?
What?
That was a Sailor Moon moment.
Yeah?
It totally was.
It totally was a Sailor Moon moment. Anyway, continue.
This witch looks like some kind of like bird thing with like a vest and like boots. It's bizarre.
Yeah, so
Which is cool.
this labyrinth is kind of cool because it's like it looks like she goes into the labyrinth door, and then there's this panel where it's like a vortex.
Yeah.
And the vortex looks like letters, mailboxes, street signs, and rice paper windows. Like, you know, the
Yes.
Japanese sliding door windows where
Yes.
it's you know, like a grid of wood, and then there's rice paper instead of glass.
Yep.
That's what
It's
this
those.
looks like.
That's
Yeah.
what those
And then
are.
the familiars look like letters with stitches, like stitched
That
up
have been torn
letters
up and put
with
together.
crow wings
Yeah.
attached to them. So this
Yeah.
witch is interesting. This actually
It's
feels a
it's
lot
actually
more
pretty
like a
cool.
witch to me.
Totally. I get way better energy from it.
And then the witch itself is like a sexy lady in thigh boots and a corset, but her head is like a ragdoll bird, and she has wings for arms and a postman hat, and instead of a bird's tail, she has a bunch of hearts coming out of her butt, like feathers.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's
It's a
great.
lot.
It
It's
is
pretty
great.
yeah.
I could
actually really
easily
like this
see
witch.
this made out of
the
magazine
show.
clippings instead of drawn, and it being an Inu
Yeah.
Curry witch.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's very well done.
It's really good.
And she gets like right into it. She's fighting it, and you know, she's got that like enraged protecting my family kind of thing.
Yeah.
She's going off, and she does her Rosso Phantasma, where there's like 20 of her, which is fucking cool. She basically like kills the fuck out of this thing.
Oh yeah.
Like
There's a couple pages where they're fighting and like
Yeah.
the artwork is really nice. And it's the same thing as before. Like if you really want to stop and like look at every panel really closely, you can follow the action. But
Yeah.
you know, they're fighting. But at the end of it, she basically does her awesome duplication power and just like cuts it in half essentially.
And when she's done, there's a mess left behind. There's the people passed out. There's the books and stuff like that. And she's kind of mourning the fact that there's a hot fucking mess in her church and she has to clean it up. And she basically says, well, thank God I can, it's the middle of the night, so it's okay. I can clean this up in time so that nobody sees it. Which again is like, why are you scared of your father finding out the church was, like, it's just very like, God, like again, her first priority is to protect the, you know, happiness of dad. Which,
Yeah, like so
Ew.
so he finds a mess and a bunch of people broke into the church. Like it's not going to be your fault.
Yeah.
like
no.
Yeah.
yeah,
She's gonna think, like, she thinks of it as her fault and
her
something that
responsibility.
it's her responsibility
Yeah.
to stop, which is again very patriarchal. Don't like that. But she's thinking about cleaning it up, and then you find out Dad's watching,
Oh boy.
and Dad has seen what happens, and he's got this sort of like shocked face.
I don't like that.
So, don't like that.
Don't like it.
And that's the end of that chapter.
Because we all
Well, no,
know
it's
what
not the end of the
happens
chapter.
now.
Yeah,
Like we all know what's
happens
going to
now.
happen after this. So
He leaves and finds Momo. And she's like, Daddy, where's
wait,
Kyoko?
we
What's
got to stop
wrong?"
now. That's the end of Act 2.
No, that's
No, this
that's
is
the
still,
last page.
This is still part of the
Because you can see the next page says
Oh,
episode
you're
3 on it.
right. I was
Yep.
misled by. No,
Yeah.
no. This is the first page
that
of
filler
episode
page.
3. This is the cold open of episode 3.
Oh,
okay.
okay. You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
You're right.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I got confused.
All
But
right.
Yeah.
So it ends with Dad finding out that she's a magical girl.
Yeah.
And,
So if you thought that Dad had horrible energy before, the energy on this
Yeah.
last page is horribly cursed.
it's
Yes.
super cursed.
So let's just leave this episode off on that awful, terrible energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hooray!
And again, this is like what I mentioned before, where I feel like this continuity is separate from the series, but relying on your knowledge of it a
Yeah.
lot. Because a lot of the energy that's coming across is them knowing what's about to happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, which I think that the manga plays off really, really well. It comes across super clearly. You're like,
Yeah, they definitely use the elements from the series very well.
Yeah. The dramatic irony there is like, ugh. Like,
I
oh
know.
no,
It's
I know
great,
what's going
and
to
I do
happen
appreciate
now.
that.
Like, I know what's coming.
Mhm.
I know what this dad is going to do, you know?
And it's just like, leaving off at that spot is
you almost
just
don't
oh
want to
God,
flip the page.
Oh
You're all like,
No, I
fuck.
didn't. Like, that's why I think that's why I got to that part, and I was like,
stopped.
okay, this is a good place to stop.
That's enough.
That's enough. But it's actually like super impressive to me because like manga as a format just isn't as heavy on content because you have to like it's just not a medium where you can get as much information across as like television quickly.
Right.
I think. And it does this manga does a really good job fleshing out Mami and Kyoko a lot in a very short period of time. Again, using the context of the series and what you already know about the characters to build on and to play off, and I really, really liked that and thought it was well done because a lot of like, you know, a lot of anime have like the spin-offs and all that kind of stuff, and sometimes they just seem like total shit. And actually, I think this one is really well done so far. It's doing something slightly different, but you're getting a lot more out of it. You're getting more of the, like, Kyoko being clearly in a broken home to begin with. This wasn't an idea. Because in the show, it's kind of framed more as, like, she had this idyllic family with a couple little problems, but, you know, her wish made it collapse. Whereas in this, you're like, no, this was a hot mess already.
Yeah, this was already in the process of collapsing.
Exactly. Her wish was made in just as much desperation as Mami's was.
Unless you're like me and you always kind of saw Kyoko as like an unreliable narrator in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think she was. Like, I never assumed that in the flashback it was actually a happy family. Like, she's clearly, like, retconning it in her own mind. But it's still framed that way, whereas this is much more...
Like,
yeah, this is much more explicit.
Yeah, you get to actually see her dad in this manga. And his energy is not good.
No.
This is not a smiling, positive, happy dad that she seems to describe, you know?
And, like, I don't think that it's going as far as to imply that he's, like, actually, like, abusive, like, physically or verbally, but he clearly enforces his, like, patriarchal role enough that everyone around him is, like, forced to fall in line.
Yeah.
The wife doesn't say much, and when she does, she's parroting what he's saying. Kyoko is, like, straight up scared to let him become angry at things.
She's pretty
like,
much worshipping him.
Yeah. But it's very fearful worship. Like, it's worship cognizant of consequences, which is fucking yikes.
Yeah.
So...
Aw, Kyoko. My poor baby.
Yeah. I love her. I stand.
I feel like this is gonna get really sad.
Wrong. Yeah, Kyoko never does anything wrong.
Nobody has ever done anything wrong in this entire series. Except for
Except
Kyubey.
Dad. Except for Dad. Fuck Dad.
And Dad.
Yeah, and Kyubey.
Yeah, he's
Kyoko's
asshole,
dad and Kyubey. Those are the only two people who have ever done anything
Kyubey
wrong.
is very minimized in this. Kyubey is
he's not
just
really...
enough there to know that he's there.
Yeah. He's not really a focus.
Which I actually kind of like because it makes the magical, like, the
it's more character-driven.
Emotional weight. It's more character-driven than circumstance-driven.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
It's Kyubey that's, like, the arbiter of circumstances, and, like, he's the one that brings you witches to fight and stuff like that.
Right.
But he's kind of minimized in this because it's much more about the dynamic of the characters, which is interesting.
That's another good sign that they're relying on your knowledge of the anime to understand this.
Yes.
Because this manga never goes out of its way to explain to you who the hell this little cat thing is.
Yeah, you already know who Kyubey is.
Yeah.
You already know about the contracts. You already know how they became magical girls. We don't have to, like, rehash all of that nonsense. Right. It just gets right into things, which is fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I am really excited that we're reading this.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this.
I am enjoying this
this
so much more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah. I thought you were about to say I'm enjoying this more than Magireko, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Aw.
But it's true, though.
Yeah.
Bloodless agreements on that. Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
I actually am not a big fan of Mami in the show.
Yeah, you've said that.
I don't really like that kind of person.
Yeah.
And I'm, like, kind of conflicted because on one hand, this is fleshing her out more and I feel more sympathy for her, but I also want to kick her ass more.
But
Mami,
that's
why?
still, if you ask me though, that's what makes characters fun. That's what makes me like them.
Like, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like, it's great.
Like, I want to kick Sayaka's ass so hard. But that's partially why she's my second favorite Madoka Magica character.
It's not easy to write a character that you actively want to, like, yell and scream and shake.
I want to shake her. I just want to grab her by the
Yes.
shoulders and shake her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that's the mommy energy I get, like, bitch!
Yeah.
So yeah, so far A+, and I'm glad we did like a small part of it, because I'm looking forward to, like, I want to do more episodes about the manga because I'm enjoying the manga. So
Yeah.
this will be a meaty set of podcasts.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So thank you again to the patrons who made it possible.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes,
Thank you so much.
yeah, so I guess we'll see you guys on the next episode. We'll probably finish up this volume. It might be a little bit of a shorter episode because I don't know if we'd want to get into the second volume after finishing the first volume in like the same episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 Maybe it'll
probably
just
not.
give us some more room for yapping about other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Making connections.
Or it'll
Yeah.
be shorter, either way. And then we'll get into volume 2 and 3.
Yes.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks for listening, everybody. If you want to follow the show, you can do so at Madoka Magicast on Twitter. If you would like to support us on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/Madoka Magicast. I think we have a new patron to thank, so let me open up the Patreon really quick. We have one new patron this month. A big thank you to Brittany M. Bauman, who is a new $5 patron, which means she's getting the bonus pin. Thank you so much, Brittany.
Awesome.
Thank you, Brittany.
You are another one of our patrons whose pin is late due to COVID.
God.
Combination
Any
of
inevitable
COVID delays
class
and my
related
personal
post.
schedule delays. So,
Oh,
sorry to you and everyone else who is still waiting on pins. I really am going to
We're
try to
doing
get
our
them out
best.
this week. If you would like to join our Patreon, you can do so, as I said, at patreon.com/Madoka Magicast. At the $5 and up tier, you can get a complimentary button pin
They're so cute.
drawn by friend of the show, Erlin's on Twitter. Also, we have Patreon goals for certain, what is it called? Like amounts? Like backer amounts? I don't even know what it's even called. What are Patreon words?
How to put it?
I don't remember. I don't do enough Patreon to know what it's called. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so at Lambda Power, so LAMBDA Power, or you can look at my art account at Oddlazdo, ODDLAZDO.
And if you should want to find me and Vana, you can always find us at ohtori.nu. We're on Twitter as well at ohtori_nu.
All right.
right.
Thank you everyone for listening. And we love you. And please hang in there for the next episode.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay safe, stay clean, wash your hands.
Yes.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Sneeze into your elbow.
Don't touch your face.
Stay 6 feet away from others. Stay at home.
Be safe.
Yeah, be safe. Bye.
Bye.